Hey, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with me this evening or this morning, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this. And so tonight, I've actually prepared a presentation to go over with you. And after I'm finished with that, uh, I can share the link and have people join me to discuss it because I'd love to hear if you have thoughts that are different than mine. Maybe we'll all learn something new. Alrighty, so let's get started. So I've titled this presentation Satanic Panic Revisited. I notice on a lot of different channels when I'm watching different subjects, people refer to the Satanic Panic, and it drives me crazy. Because usually when someone refers to it, they're referring to it like a big hoax that got out of hand, all right, and caused a moral uproar, all right. So let's look at it. And for those that don't know what it is, that's how we're going to start. We're going to talk about what the Satanic Panic was, then maybe relating it to a little bit of things going on today. And at the end, hey, Chalet's in the house. Woohoo. Did I say Frugal in the house? Frugal's also in the house. Good morning. I'm in my place with a bright, shiny face. Woohoo. Excellent, Chalet. And then I'm going to wrap it up with something that I wrote a few years ago, kind of about what I think of maybe the Satanism issue in general, but like on a global scale, on a historical scale. All right. So let's get started. So I know this might be small to read. I mean, for you to read along, but you can always screenshot things and look at them larger or whatever you need to do. But I'm going to read it out. I'm going to read this out. And so just follow along and just listen if you want to. So the Satanic now this is from Wikipedia, and these first 3 slides are taken from Wikipedia. It's just general information, right? It doesn't have to be scholarly. And so all 3 slides are from the same Wikipedia page, which is listed here on the first slide. All right. How does the mainstream define it, the Satanic Panic? Jinx, Chalet says, and Frugal, is Florida finally cooling down? I know fall has started, but it takes a few weeks to show up down there. Haha. Okay, so good. I'm going to let you guys chat while I go over this. The Satanic Panic is a moral panic consisting of over 12,000 unsubstantiated cases of satanic ritual abuse, also SRA, it's sometimes called. And by the way, I'm just going to like speak freely on this one. If YouTube doesn't like it, it might not, it's not going to be banned, but like maybe shadow banned, where they're just not pushing it out to people. So you have to know about it in order to come watch it. And then that's fine with me. It's out there. So satanic ritual abuse, SRA, sometimes known as ritual abuse, ritualistic abuse, organized abuse, or sadistic ritual abuse. Starting in the United States in the 1980s, spreading throughout many parts of the world by the late 1990s, and persisting today. The panic originated, now this is according to Wikipedia, there can be variations on exactly what started it, all right? The panic originated in 1980 with the publication of Michelle Remembers, a book co-written by Canadian psychiatrist Lawrence Pasder and his patient and future wife, Michelle Smith, which used the controversial and now discredited practice of recovered memory therapy to make claims about satanic ritual abuse involving Smith. Okay, so that's what they're saying. I don't remember this book in particular. I do remember what they're calling recovered memory therapy. And I think some of it, sometimes recovered memory therapy can be, put into the minds of the person by the therapist or the psychiatrist or the psychologist. I think that does happen where people have false memories. Okay. Did she have a false memory? I don't know. I don't even remember this book. All right. But you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because when you're talking about dissociative disorders, such as multiple personality disorder, your core personality, who you are, can actually be cut off from those memories, and they require a particular trigger to activate them. And they can come out. That repression and repressed memories are a real thing. And so if those repressed memories are recovered, yeah, Ching, then that's a real thing, right? Was she faking it? Did Lawrence Pastor, the psychiatrist, put false memories into her, and then they wrote a book, and then they did this whole thing on purpose or on accident? I don't know. Okay. But I mean, to say that it's a now discredited practice, I think that's a little strong on the on Wikipedia's part. Okay. The allegations, which arose afterward throughout much of the United States, involved reports of physical and sexual abuse of people in the context of occult or satanic rituals. And some allegations involve a conspiracy of a global satanic cult that includes the wealthy and elite, in which children are abducted or bred for human sacrifice, pornography, and prostitution. Now, Wikipedia is saying these are the allegations, and they're speaking as if it's all false, it's all fake, it was all a hoax, and it got out of hand and started this moral panic, right? So let me read this sentence again. Some allegations include, and think of your own knowledge of things that have been happening, a conspiracy of a global satanic cult that includes the wealthy and elite, in which children are abducted or bred for human sacrifice, pornography, or prostitution. You know what I would add in there? Consumption. And there's a name for that. It's called starts with pedo, not pedophilia. It's pedivore. That's a word. Carnivore, herbivore, pedivore, eating children. Okay. The mainstream's explanation. And I've got slide 3 right over part of what I have to read. I might need to go ahead and actually open, give me just a second to open this on my computer. So when I get to that paragraph, I can just read it on my computer. And I'm going to zoom in on this so when I get to it, I can read it better. All right. Well, I'll just read it here. Okay, so we're ready for the mainstream's explanation. Yashale, you can search demonic activities and such. And I know some people don't like the word demon, that entity, whatever, vibrations, resonance, evil, certainly I believe does exist. in whatever form we want to name it. You know, if you want to say demons, I'm not opposed to demons, you know, calling this evil entities demons. You know, I don't have a problem with that word. But, you know, among the explanations of why the panic occurred when it did or took the shape that it did include 3 films that opened and ran near the beginning of the panic having to do with Satanism, namely Rosemary's Baby in 1968, The Exorcist in 1973, and The Omen in 1976. According to scholar Joseph Laycock, patients hypnotized by therapists to recover memories of SRA often, quote, seemed to be recalling scenes from these films. And then I added, I would add Carrie in 1976, in particular, because you had a mother, you know, mistreating her daughter in a ritualistic way. My only comment on this part is like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? You know, is it possible? I'm just gonna say, is it possible that maybe some of these movies and the people in Hollywood writing and directing and acting in and producing these films know of real things happening, possibly even participate in real things happening, and then make a movie about it, maybe just to make a movie, you know, and include things in their movie. Or maybe they do it even on purpose so that later, if somebody says, oh, this is what happened to me, they can say, oh, that's just a movie. Is that possible? Frugal says he's loved all 3 films. The lamestream media. If you believe in God, then you believe in the devil. And I think you definitely have to believe in evil, whether you have the D, the devil personified. You know, I think different cultures personify evil in different ways, but I think pretty much every culture has something that's good, something that's bad, whatever name they put on it, right? So maybe there's something to that. Chalet says they've been grooming us, put on the full armor of God. Yeah, absolutely. So continuing, the reaction against the surge of new religious movements, NRMs, in the 1960s, due to both the immigration reform allowing missionaries for Asian religions, as well as new religions, including the Church of Satan, arising from the counterculture of the baby boomer generation, sometimes called the cult wars or cult scare. I'm wondering if the immigration reform for allowing missionaries for Asian religions is talking about like the Moonies and stuff like that. That could be what they're referring to without saying it. I mean, making that big politically correct, you know, wording. Okay, so that's so people were reacting to all these new religious movements like the Church of Satan and various cults. Okay. Third reason is the Tate LaBianca murders committed by Charles Manson and his cult of, quote, mostly lonely teenagers from broken homes. And then finally, they list Mike Warnke's best-selling 1972 memoir, The Satan Seller, in which he claimed to have led a group of 1,500 Satanists that engaged in rape and human sacrifice before he converted to evangelical Christianity. The book was praised by Moody Monthly and the Christian Century. 2 decades later, the book was debunked by an evangelical magazine, Cornerstone. So All I'm going to say at this point right now is I've met Mike Warnke several times, and I don't believe for a moment. I mean, even though Cornerstone did an article debunking Mike Warnke, I believe he knows what he's talking about. So, the next slide. What they say never happened. Okay, so all this debunking is to say that these are the things that didn't happen. You know, what was the first slide? 12,000 cases that were all debunked. Okay, put that together with whatever information you have in your brain already, whatever education that you already have with this. So put this in light of what you may already know. So firstly, the allegation of cult-based abuse is the most extreme scenario of SRA. During the initial period of interest, starting in the early 1980s, the term was used to describe a network of Satan-worshiping, secretive, intergenerational cults that were supposedly part of a highly organized conspiracy engaged in criminal behaviors such as forced prostitution, drug distribution, and pornography. Oh yeah, that never happens, you know. Even if you take out the Satan worshiping part, you know, and just put the word evil, secretive, intergenerational cults that were supposedly a part of a highly organized conspiracy engaged in criminal behaviors. All right. Oh yeah. And this is still up on Wikipedia, even though you've got Epstein, you've got Diddy now, and stuff. We'll. I've got other slides on that stuff. All right. So next, these cults, these imaginary cults, right, were also thought to sexually abuse and torture children in order to coerce them into a lifetime of devil worship. Other allegations include bizarre sexual acts, such as necrophilia, forced ingestion of semen, blood, and feces, cannibalism, orgies, liturgical parody, such as pseudo-sacramental use of feces and urine, infanticide, sacrificial abortions to eat fetuses, and human sacrifice, satanic police officers who covered up evidence of SRA crimes, and desecration of Christian graves. Oh yeah, no, none of that ever happens. Can you hear the sarcasm? From a law enforcement perspective, an intergenerational conspiracy dedicated to ritual sacrifice whose members remain completely silent, make no mistakes, and leave no physical evidence is unlikely. Cases of what the media incorrectly perceived as actual cult sacrifices, such as the 1989 case of Adolfo Costanzo, I don't even know that case. I know the preschool case, have supported this idea. Okay. Okay. Let me get to my next slide, and then we'll discuss this. So what I remember, back in the day, in the 80s, there was no internet, there was no Google searches. So how did we get this information? It was from radio shows like Bob Larson, books, and there's one that Bob Larson, for example, wrote several in a narrative, novels in a narrative form. I think his first one was Dead Air. book. And also The Devil's Web is excellent. If you've never read this book, I highly recommend finding it on eBay or Amazon or wherever, and getting a copy and reading it for yourself, because this is a more of a journalistic, like investigative journalism that goes into why cases, even if the law enforcement isn't involved, but they will hide the ritualistic aspects of a crime. They'll say someone was murdered, they'll say someone was raped, they'll say all these different things, but if there's anything that's ritualistic about it, they shut their mouth about that. But being an investigative journalist, she discovered, I don't know, maybe she was a police consultant. It's been so long since I've read this book, but she's either an investigative journalist or somebody like a consultant with law enforcement. So she knew a lot of these cases had ritualistic elements that were not being reported, whether, and I mean by media and also in the police reports. And in fact, that just, once the Frank's memo of Abby and Libby's murder and crime scene came out, describing it as a ritualistic murder, then murderers, I immediately thought of this, and how, of course, you've got to maybe keep some details quiet so that you know if a confession is real or false. But it just reeked. It reeked of this standard modus operandi of law enforcement, and how they were planning on that ritualistic aspect never seeing the light of day, in my opinion. So live engagements, such as Mike Warnke, he would do a concert, with a comedy routine, and then he would get into his testimony and tell, some of the details and some of the things that he had been involved in. I remember talking to him after one of the shows, because I listened to Bob Larson's radio show, read these books and things, and had a good idea of what was happening. I don't know if it was before or after. I think it was after I had met I've told the whole story, but when I was waitressing a graveyard shift, and this one family would come in, and it was like the father, the grandfather and grandmother, and then two young children. And I knew my spirit could, and recognized his spirit, and his spirit knew that my spirit knew who he was, but it was my job. And so I treated him just like I would treat anybody else. And, but I'd always take the kids and like, not play with them, but give them attention, let them sort the sugar packets or something, like that's for the table. And then one day I saw the grandparents, and I'm just saying this as far as like age, right? I saw the grandparents at Walmart or something, and I said, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And they're like, "Oh, hi, it's so nice to see you." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Well, where are such and such?" I said their names, and they're like, there's like absolutely zero recognition. And so I knew, because once a child has been sacrificed, they never exist. It's not like they died. It's like they never existed. And that's what it was. And I instantly knew, and I just, oh, I'm sorry, never mind. I mixed something up, because I knew. And so anyway, after that, I think it was after that, Mike Warnke had come around again, and I asked him after the show, I'm like, well, why don't the police, why can't we just like raid them, you know, and he's like, oh yeah, you mean just go in with guns blazing and everything. And it was really difficult because I kind of wanted to say yes, exactly like that. And, but I was kind of like, you know, well, that didn't really, the way he said it didn't really sound right. You know, it's like, everybody's got their First Amendment rights and Fifth Amendment rights and whatever. I mean, there's a constitution and everybody's still, even though they're Satanists, they're still citizens. And you can't just, you know, and so I started my way of dealing with it because there were nights where I couldn't sleep, you know. But so what I prayed for those children. I prayed for some kid that's put in a hole in the ground and covered up until it's time to use them, that the angels would be there to comfort them and give them some comfort, you know, while rats are down there with them and they pee their pants, and then the rats start and they try not to pee their pants, and they can't hold it back anymore. And so then the rats start biting and there's nowhere for them to go. You know, they just have to wait until someone takes the lid off the hole in the ground. And then what happens isn't any better. You know, so this is like, I mean, this was me in the 80s, dealing with all of this, raising 3 kids of my own. They were born in 85, 88, and 89. So I had young children, and knowing that these people were around, but you don't know who they are. I also had a lady at the church that I was going to at the time, who was a victim, and at some point felt she could open up to me about her multiple personality disorder and how triggers worked, you know, and how you're completely unaware. One personality can be completely unaware of another personality. Sometimes personalities know about each other, sometimes they don't, you know. And then whatever trigger, Bugs Bunny or something, you know, roses, red roses, what, it could be something completely random, and then somebody accidentally says your trigger, and your mind clicks over to the other personality, and then it's not you, you know. So you have blackouts. One personality will have blackouts, you know. Usually it's called a core personality. Yeah, so these are some of the things that I remember in the 80s. And so when everybody recently, I mean, like, I think with Q, it kind of started coming around again, like information about these things. And Epstein, you know, and Epstein was Epstein Island and what was going on there, and Moloch and everything was discovered or being reported on for the first time, right? Because they weren't really reporting on him, even though he'd been convicted before. It was like, oh, finally, it's coming out. Well, let's see if these people, they go down. And they didn't go down, you know. But I don't lose sleep about it anymore because I already went through that, you know. All right. Next slide. News today. Okay, so we've already kind of started touching on this. So I mentioned here the music industry. Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, that's like the latest thing. There's an image there in the center of him attacking the girl that's trying to leave, which kind of set, I guess that incident set everything in motion, because a lot of people even now is that when they discuss it are like, well, why don't they just leave? Why, why do they keep going back and stuff? Well, this is what happens when you try to leave, and then to the right of P. Diddy is Epstein, the security cameras from Epstein's, the building, on Epstein Island. Rachel Chandler, I believe, is the one that posted those, kind of like bragging about it. But it got noticed, and there are children in there. I mean, that's a whole subject there. Politicians and millionaires. You've got Epstein. You've got Hillary Clinton and Uba Abedin in the frazzle drip, which was on her husband's laptop. Anthony Weiner, he took his laptop into a repair shop, and while the laptop was at the repair shop, he got arrested. And so since he was arrested, and I think it was on some kind of pornography charges or something, the guy with the shop opened up the was like fixing it and like just looking in some of the files and discovered the frazzle drip. And I'm not going to go into what that is, but it involves a child being sacrificed. And it said that the law, he called law enforcement, and when they saw this video and whatever else is on there, they were vomiting. All their years on the job, that nothing made them as sick as what was on that laptop. Hollywood, of course, Harvey Weinstein is not in all of the satanic panic stuff. His charges aren't. His charges are just about bargaining, the casting couch, saying, if you want to be cast in a film, you need to have sex with me. But he did follow through. It's like, okay, they did, and they became big celebrities. But then I guess they got, for whatever reason, they decided to turn on him. And so I think he got convicted, didn't he? Did he get off of his charges? Isn't he like in jail right now or something? And then he's like got some health issues. But Hollywood itself, the whole industry, talk about generational. It's not just the modern celebrities now. This goes back to when Hollywood was chosen as a location. Before it became Hollywood, when everybody was in New York, and then they moved out to Hollywood. We'll get into how it goes back, but Hollywood, there's a lot we could say about Hollywood. It runs deep. It runs deep, and all of those things we were talking about at the beginning that the media says never happens in Hollywood, right? Entertainment elites. So they have the Met Gala. You can see all kinds of symbolism and stuff, and ceremonies are going on there. Marina Abramovic. If you don't know who she is, just put her name with Spirit Cooking, and you'll get more than enough information. She's considered a performance artist. Let's see. John and Tony Podesta. So on the far right, you kind of see that sculpture that's hanging. That is the position that a body is placed when someone is going to cannibalize the front abdominal section of the body. They bend them. They're dead. or maybe that'd be horrible if they were still alive. But I think even if somebody's dead and so they're like limp, you position the body like that sculpture to then eat the abdominal, everything in the abdominal area. And that is Tony Podesta's sculpture. John Podesta is very close with Hillary Clinton. There's also, if you look into Madeleine McCain and you put John and Tony Podesta, they'll show two guys that they had the sketches, and you compare them to Tony and John Podesta. It looks almost like a photograph, let me tell you. So that's an interesting thing. And then knowing about all of this, then that's probably what happened to Madeleine McCain. And then there's art. I don't remember who owns that art between Tony Podesta's sculpture and Marina Abramovic. It's like kids in a pool kind of area. That has been figured out to most likely be the Biltmore. Is it Biltmore? Anderson Cooper and his mother. What's the big family that they're actually part of? Vanderbilts. I think the Vanderbilts owned the Biltmore. I could have the name wrong, but I think that's what it is. And so there's like a pool, I don't want to say underground pool, but like basement kind of thing, where it's very likely that rituals have taken place. We could mention the Vatican. Oh, I think maybe I do in the next slide. So I've got a picture of the Met Gala. Then I've got Balenciaga campaign that had kids that like people got outraged about. And then also Celine Dion's fashion for kids that had a lot of controversy about it. So these are some things in the news. Are you guys just listening and still there? Because in mine, I just want to let you know that in my chat, I don't see any comments. So if you've been making comments, I'm not seeing them. If you're not making comments and you're just listening, that's fine. I'm just kind of curious. All right. So next slide. Was it real? I say that it was, and it still is. And a differentiation that I want to make is, number one, the difference between generational versus cults versus wannabes. And so I have corresponding pictures there where you might have a drawing that somebody makes when they remember rituals that they've been a part of that were, I mean, because if it's generational, you've got split personalities, all right? Because every generation does it to the kids, right? So all the generations before have also had their personality split. All right. A cult, I would say, like Church of Satan with Anton LaVey, which is the black and white picture. You know, that's not generational. That is sensational. He wants, you know, that it's not generational. What do they do in their ceremonies? I don't know. Do they go as far as generational Satanists do? I don't know. Maybe they do mock things just for the sensationalism and to, you know, goad other people and to get, they hate Christians, so they want to do the opposite so that they can tease Christians and things, whatever, something like this. But it's not generational. And then for wannabes, I put some like groupies doing the devil horns and stuff like that. they, you get some teenagers, maybe they even kill a cat or something, which is horrible, but they're not part of a larger network. They're just trying to be cool. In their mind, this is how they want to be cool, by acting out on, whatever occultism they've been exposed to. They're trying to imitate it and they're trying to be part of it, but they're not actually part of a larger network, right? So those, I call those wannabes. Number two, you've got the issues of human trafficking, adrenochrome, drugs, weapons. They all use the same or similar networks, right? So you might kidnap a child and traffic them, maybe just for pedophiles to use them, and then they die, and then that's it, right? But it doesn't mean that it's part of Satanism, right? Or it wasn't ritualistic, but the networks can be the same. And so also here on the right-hand side, I have a screenshot of a post that Amazing Polly had done. Let me see if I look in my PowerPoint, I might be able to see the date on it. It was a Twitter tweet. Whoops. 2020, okay, 14th of June, 2020. And she discovered that these cabinets were being sold on Wayfair, a website called Wayfair, that were like $38,000, $20,000. And the names of the cabinets were the names of were human names, and some people have even tried to match them up with missing kids. Although I have to say, if there's a John that's missing, there's a John that's not missing. But yeah, one of these is $19,499, another $16,000, another $13,000, and each cabinet has its own name. And so she supposed that maybe when that Wayfair was being used to order children. And could somebody leave a comment just so I know that the chat is working? Because I still don't see any comments since 9/11. And if I don't see anything in the next few minutes, then I'm going to assume that the comment's not working. And maybe I'll open a browser, open this in YouTube so I can see Frugal's here. Okay, thank you so much. So it is working. Thanks. So anyway, she supposed that Wayfair was a trafficking network, maybe not the whole company, but it was being used as a trafficking network for the people that wanted to buy a child. They would order the cabinet, and then instead of the cabinet being delivered, or maybe a child inside the cabinet, I don't know. I would have never ordered anything. And she got kicked off of YouTube. She got kicked off of Twitter after this. That's why she has her own website and Rumble. She's on Rumble now, but she's not on YouTube anymore, but she's still active. But this got her in trouble talking about this. And then the other picture I have up there says X, the new OnlyFans. This is Lynn's Warriors. And I want to highly recommend checking her out, especially if you have children or grandchildren. She's reputable. her husband is named Lionel. He's got his own like channel and his own followers and quite large channel on YouTube. He used to be in radio, but she's been actively against human trafficking, in particular sexual abuse and trafficking of children, and ways to protect children, ways that you can recognize if something is happening. And I highly recommend finding Lynn's Warriors. It's LYNN apostrophe S Warriors. So, all right, next slide. This is my theory. I've got some pictures to go along with it. Let me move back on the. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slides. My theory. Adrenochrome. It all goes back to adrenochrome. Before Jeffrey Epstein, HRC, Nexium, Hollywood. Before Rothschilds, Charlemagne, the Vatican. Before Babylon, Baal, Moloch, Diana, Ishtar. Before Zeus, Atlantis, the time that giants and Nephilim roamed the earth. Before Adam and Eve, there was Lilith. Lilith, who was created from the same clay as Adam, but being equal wasn't enough. Lilith, who left Adam and mated with the demon archangel Samael. Lilith, who requires child sacrifice and becomes a snake serpent. Was it Lilith who tempted Eve, a woman whom she hated and was jealous of, like the queen who turns into a hag and offers Snow White an apple to place her in eternal sleep? Is it Lilith who created multiple bloodlines to consume the children of the righteous in an attempt to prevent God's salvation? Are there multiple bloodlines who rise and fall in dominance throughout history, like mafia dons killing their competitors and taking over their syndicates, each with their own supply chains of adrenochrome, able to expose one bloodline without revealing themselves to be equally serving a different incarnation of Lilith? What if religion, known today as Christianity, was created as a deception? What if it has nothing to do with Jesus, the Son of God? The Roman Empire is known for its persecution of Christians. Quite the opposite, Rome being the seat of the Catholic Church today. How did this transition occur? The Catholic Church maintains that the disciple of Jesus, Peter, was the first pope. Let's assume, for the sake of this theory, that these Christians were people who followed the teachings of Jesus. Nero, in 64 AD, blamed the Christians for the Great Fire. Edicts came and went, with Christians suffering, quote, death by beasts as common criminals, until Constantine came on the scene and legalized Christianity in 313 AD. It became the state religion of the Roman Empire in 380 AD, decreed by Emperor Theodosius I. But what caused this shift? Pope Miltiades, or Melchiades, about 23 popes down the line after Peter, sticking with the Roman and not Greek popes, since we are considering the Roman Empire, held the office of Pope from the 2nd of July 311 AD to the 10th of January 314 AD. He presided over the Lateran Council of 313, the same year Constantine ended state-sponsored persecution of Christians, to resolve a dispute about a bishop in Carthage, which failed and resulted in the Donatist schism. It is interesting to note, and perhaps relevant, that Miltiades was a clergy accused of being a traitor to the Christian faith, serving under the previous pope, Marcellinus, 296 to 304 AD, both renouncing their faith and offering sacrifices to pagan gods during the great persecution under Emperor Diocletian. What if Constantine decided that the Roman army wasn't enough to hold the empire together? What if he considered that a single religion needs to be enforced? What if it went deeper, and as part of the Merovingian bloodline, Constantine conspired to usurp Christianity and install or overtake a papal system, which would then rewrite and corrupt true Christian teachings? Could this be the beginning of what would become the evil of the Vatican, which is coming to light? Maybe this scenario happened with an earlier pope and an earlier emperor. What's the biggest danger to our future? Does Lilith have a plan? What if everything linked to adrenochrome is merely to keep the bloodlines alive, while weakening and decreasing, eliminating would be a bonus but not going to happen, the righteous? Waiting for a moment in time. What moment? Perhaps the opening of the portal to the demonic prison in another dimension, which has been locked for eons? AI, transhumanism, D-wave quantum computers, CERN, Schumann resonance, black goo, geoengineering, 5G. Who are the billionaires? Either old money or new tech money. Listen to the lectures given by the tech leaders. They admit that CERN has opened portals to other dimensions. CERN is currently closed for maintenance at the time I wrote this. Perhaps they have found Lilith's portal and have no need for further research. Perhaps they are just waiting for the green light to open the portal. Perhaps these tech leaders believe that fully human beings will be targeted by the demons unleashed on the earth through the portal, but AI and transhumans will not be enslaved or destroyed. They will be protected against the onslaught. Of course, plan B is to be safe in bunkers in places like New Zealand. What if the tech leaders are part of a different Lilith bloodline that is separate from the one which has been controlling the popular adrenochrome supply? What if they were to help take down the current syndicate and remain unscathed by the outrage because they have no link? What if this is the change to occur by the efforts of the US administration, fooling the faithful followers of Trump and Q? Maybe it is the opposite, and they do not fear exposure because they are sure that the portal will be opened before the truth is revealed to the masses. Why do scientists hate Christianity but embrace Shiva while claiming not to believe in God or a spiritual realm? Watch the tech leaders. Watch adrenochrome sources. Protect the children. Protect yourself. Everything else is a distraction. And that's it. That's my presentation. So thoughts, you can write in the chat, or if someone would like to come up here and talk and tell me your thoughts, I can put the link and we can have a conversation. I can have like 5 or 8 or 10. I don't know. I can have lots of people on the stream, like as a panel. So just let me know if you're interested in that, and I'll put the link in. Otherwise, let me know what you think in the chat. That was quite a lot, but now you know what I think. And I'm open to other points of view. Anybody? Come on, come on. I want this to be a conversation. Are you all just stunned? I mean, I think to deny the fact that, we'll just say broadly, ritualistic abuse to deny that happens, and even on a generational scale, I think is that's the delusional, to think it never happens. Frugal says he's working on things in the background while listening. Well, that's it. That's the end of the presentation. So it's like discussion time. If anybody wants to discuss. But yeah, I think it's delusional to think that it doesn't happen. So for me, that's why it just rubs me the wrong way when people talk about satanic panic, as it was just this big moral hoax that led to like witch hunts, because that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater, And I think that some people had like some personal fallout too. Frugal, I am not sure about the adrenochrome portion. I do not know enough about it, nor does it hit with my own personal beliefs of fascinations or fascinations. Beliefs of fascinations. And for anybody who doesn't know what adrenochrome is, I guess I can kind of give a short explanation. It's in the brain. I think it's like either in or near the pineal gland in the brain. And so when you have, we all know about adrenaline, all right? And adrenaline is your fight or flight, reaction. If you're going to play dead, that's not necessarily adrenaline, right? It's the fighting or the running, the fight or flight, that your body needs the adrenaline to have action, right? To have that quick action. And so we all know about adrenaline. However, when you are in absolute and complete terror, your body produces adrenochrome. And so that's one of the things I had asked Mike Warnke. Okay, so the thing that's new for me is adrenochrome. Back in the 80s, during the Satanic Panic, I learned about everything else. And so what I asked Mike Warnke, I said, well, if they want to sacrifice somebody, why don't they just like give them some sleeping pills or something and then just kill them? Why do they have to inflict pain? And that didn't make sense to me. Why? Okay, I get it. You need to sacrifice someone. You need to have like a blood sacrifice, but why can't you just kill somebody without inflicting the pain? And he said that it has to do with the energy. And I thought of it more as a kind of a psychic energy, right? So the more innocent and pure, that's why children are more innocent and pure. The then the energy is pure, right? And they're like energy vampires, they're sucking that energy. They need that energy, that spiritual energy, okay, that life force. They're stealing that, or if they're not stealing it for themselves, they're stealing it for like to give to the entities that are controlling them, that need that, the vibrations and the force and things like this, right? So I thought it was just that. I didn't realize at that point, but knowing that, once I learned about adrenochrome, it was like click in place. The dendrites in my brain reached each other and bzzz, it's like, that's it. They need to have not just pain, but terror to produce the adrenochrome. And that's what they want to consume. All right. So Frugal says, okay, so it was personal beliefs or fascinations. All right. H.P. Lovecraft touched on it in the Reanimator series and a few other novels. There is an essence from that part of the brain that has monstrous effects in the novels. Well, there you go. You see, they hint about stuff. I mean, even Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, I didn't realize it because I never saw the movie, but I've seen clips now. Mention adrenochrome, like just as a drug that gets you super psychedelic or whatever, right? So I mean, they little bits here and there, and don't figure that we'll put it together what they're doing. Frugal also says a sadist by default enjoys and even gets off from afflicting pain. I always associate those people with that. Well, there you go. That's when, if you're a sadist, then it would be an added benefit. Mm-hmm. Is this why you have such a hard time with the Dark Crystal movie? Maybe, because I don't think I've seen it, because maybe I saw enough of it in the beginning or something, and then it's like, oh, sorry, we got to go. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that could be. I mean, if it touches on this kind of stuff, but of course, my kids were little and I knew about all this stuff, and so yeah, I didn't want them. I mean, now, Disney is right there with all the evil, and I grew up with Disney. I grew up with my kid, I'm figuring Disney was safe, and Disney's not even safe. So in the Dark Crystal, they draw the essence of the Gelflings out of fear and they feed on it. Bingo. See, I didn't even know that was happening, but my spirit told me that this is not good. Monsters Inc. is all about harvesting adrenochrome. It's just, when you know about adrenochrome, it's just so friggin' obvious. They go into the kids' room, scare them, and then what happens, like on the other side of the wall, is they're collecting the adrenochrome. And then the Avatar 2. So much goes over your head. Oh, over the head. Yes. But not anymore. Exactly. Because once your eyes are open to it, And so I was watching Avatar 2, the one about the water, and they've got this big creature that is like a whale, right? And they harvest adrenochrome of the whale. It's just like, I'm just sitting there, my mouth's dropped to the floor. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is adrenochrome. But how many people watch that movie and don't get it because they don't know about it? Oh, your phone is being wacko. Oh, we have taken the blue pill. We've taken some kind of pill, haven't we? Our eyes are open for sure. So And also, when it comes to witchcraft in general, I'm not saying Satanism, because again, Satanism, when we're using the word Satan, it's kind of everybody has their own personification. Is it a goat? Is it a guy that's red with horns? Is it, everybody has these personifications of who and what the devil is. But I think one thing that we can agree on is that there's some kind of evil entity that exists in some kind of dimension that can affect our world and our lives. At any rate, we're not asleep anymore. Exactly. I don't know what I was going to say about Satan. Oh, the like spells, casting spells and everything. That in order for it to work, it's like there's like laws, right? Kind of in a way, and so they need your consent. They need to. I'm just kind of trying to sort it out in my head. I mean, someone can help make it clearer or catch me if I'm saying something wrong. The way I understand it is they cannot violate your free will. Therefore, they need your consent. Therefore, they put these little pieces out there, especially using Hollywood and movies and music. And if you watch it and you don't say, "Oh, I do not consent," or whatever, basically, right? Then you're giving your consent by not saying no consent. Then I'm giving my consent. So then they can harm you. You're opening the door for them to harm you. You find it? Do I find it odd that Bill Cosby played the devil in the Devil and Max Devlin movie? I don't know. I mean, I vaguely remember that, but why would Bill Cosby be odd? Because Bill Cosby got caught out being a sexual predator. But of course, no one reaches the level of celebrity without going through the fire. It's just not allowed. That's why you have one-hit wonders, and why you used to have one-hit wonders, because a radio station, so anybody could walk in and give them if I could pay for my own records to be printed, and or a cassette tape, or what, not a cassette tape, but like a reel-to-reel or something. I could go into it. If I could convince that DJ to play my song, and then people started liking it, and then other DJs started playing it, then you end up being a one-hit wonder. It's all controlled now. Well, I guess the way it could work is somebody could be on the internet in some form, on some kind of social media, and, for example, get their music out for people to listen to it, but it doesn't go, it's never mainstream when it's like that. So I don't know if it has anything reached a one-hit wonder status just from being on some other app or something. I'm unaware of it, if it has. So they've got complete control now. Nobody is cast in a movie. No child is cast in a movie unless that parent is willing to sign in the contract that your child is going to have a handler, that you will not be on set with them, and they will have a handler, a guardian, they'll actually call it a handler, that's supposed to guard your child for you while they're on set. And that handler is a groomer handler. And they hand your child off to everybody. And everybody has to participate. It's just like, and if you won't sign that, someone else got the part. I can't even watch movies with kids anymore. Chalet says they tell you what they are doing, and then they wink and joke about it like it's not true. Absolutely, that's another method. It's how it's done. Frugal says, because he was squeaky clean, and then he was found to be corrupt completely. Absolutely. And same thing with the guy in the UK. Hey, shit shows here in the house. Gross, foul, and vile, right? Nauseating, unbelievable. The Maven hearts from the Maven. Listen, and is that an ear? You're listening to me? Thank you. Frugal says, go down the rabbit hole of modern concerts. Many of them are actually depicting cult ceremonies and rituals complete with satanic imagery, including Taylor Swift, Lana Del Rey. It's insane. And the guy that I got, wasn't a shooting, was it? Was there a shooting? No. Who's the black guy that was in Austin, Texas, and he had like a big thing like with his mouth, and everybody had to like walk through his mouth like he was eating them and stuff, and people died. But I don't know, was it just like, I mean, that was friggin' ritual stuff happening in that one. Taylor Swift, there's like a whole syndrome named now after going to her concerts and having you black out. What's happening during those blackouts? Were you actually in your seat the whole time? Or did you know, was there something so traumatic that they split your personality and your core personality blacked out about it? You maybe went to use the bathroom or something. Or is something trance-like happening actually in your seat? I don't know. Maybe both. Maybe both are happening. Yeah, everybody's saying, hey. So it's real. Everything done in the dark eventually will come to light. Absolutely. You know, another person I watch is Political Avenger. In fact, she's been live almost every morning for me, evening in the US. And this morning she was actually talking a little bit about, I mean, not my subject of satanic panic, but about some of these things happening and how entities function through dimensions and things like that, you know, and power and who has the power, and but they don't have power over, they only have power over you if you let them have that power, you know. It was very interesting. I wrote in the comment, well, not in the, but during the chat, so I don't know if she sees the chat so much. Sometimes she'll say things, but letting her know that I was going to be doing this live stream, and it would be nice if she did come over, and I would love to have her be part of the discussion. Yeah, everyone's saying hi. Yeah, so much suffering there is, you know, and I don't know if we can ever stop suffering. I think we have strength to get through the suffering. You know, that's why I kind of had an issue back in the day with the churches that preach, you know, what do they call it when it's like you get everything, you know, abundancy, no, something like abundance. Is it abundance? Maybe it's the word abundance. Wow, it won't let me say the name of L or D or GID. Oh, Lord, I can say it, or God. Yeah. Wow. That's weird. That's weird. Weird. What's YouTube doing? YouTube's up to something. StreamYard is going from like, so I pay $25 a month for my StreamYard. Is that what it is? 25? StreamYard. $25 a month. You know, and I'm not even monetized, you know, and they're changing it to $44 a month. So I'm not going to be using StreamYard anymore. Sling the Traders. Hi. I'm new. This is interesting. Just sub. Thank you, the Maven. Thank you, Sling the Traders. I mean, I don't always get into these topics. Maybe I should more. I'll tell you, a lot of the lives that I do, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, are just playing games so that we can get Get away from all of the suffering and this stuff. But yeah, there's a time to talk about these things, and I like metaphysical things, especially science. I mean, there's a lot that I know about the science of metaphysical things that maybe maybe a lot of you haven't heard of some of these experiments and scientific things that have been done. And we could definitely, maybe one day a week I should dedicate to this type of topic. Not Hayward, Motorola, whatever that was. Okay, so you guys are talking about phones. Oh, you're wondering if the iPhone or the Android is blocking it rather than YouTube itself. Got it. Talking into your phone makes things interesting. It's a blast. Oh, thank you, shit show. So, yeah. Do you guys have any more thoughts about this? And in fact, Sling the Traders and shit show, if you didn't see the beginning of the presentation, because I had a PowerPoint presentation that I went through quite a bit, I highly recommend that once we're done here, you go ahead and start from the beginning and check out that information. And there's been a couple of shows. If you go, probably the playlist called Ramble Chat might have the videos. It's probably a year ago now, and about like paranormal stuff, and where we really talked about lots of different, the whole point of calling it ramble, are you ready to ramble, is because we might start here and then go there and then go over here, but telling different stories and things. So you might be interested to go back and dig up some of those videos. And there's some true crime as well. Frugal says, Google is bad at voice recognition, but I have not known it to block specific words. Yeah. But that is true. It's weird. That's weird whether it's the phone or YouTube. But like I said, I'm not monetized. So if they're going to shadow ban me, that's it, Well, before everybody disappears, let me remind you that love transcends time and space. So wherever and whenever you are watching me, I love you. I do. I genuinely love you. And I thank you so much for being here. Shalay says it's YouTube. You're going to try it. Okay. You're going to try voice recognition, or you're going to try looking at other videos. This is pretty much my time when I go live. I live in Cambodia, so it's 9:00 at night in Cambodia when I go live, which right now, with whatever the daylight savings is or isn't, would be 10 a.m. 9 p.m. Cambodia is 10 a.m. Eastern. So Central is 9 a.m. Mountain is 8 a.m. Pacific is 7 a.m. And England is the afternoon sometime. Yeah. Oh, maybe it's not new. Okay. Poor Chalet. You've been busy. I'm glad I caught your live. And if you have a channel, let me know, and I will add it into the description. So Chalet is there, and Frugal is also there in the description if you want to check out their channels. Yeah. Yes, have a great day and God bless. Exactly, especially after such a heavy topic. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I hope you learned something. And in the comments below, let me know what you think about what I said. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have something completely different? Do you have something that's a step further, like building upon what I've said? I would love to hear your comments. Some random crap, okay? You can screenshot it and show how it shows up on your phone, but not on the TV. Oh, Oh, interesting. Have a marvelous Monday, everybody. 100%. And good night. Yep. Happy faces and stuff. All right. Same bat time, same bat channel. I hope to see you all tomorrow for fun and games, Music Jeopardy. Bye.